Welcome back to Divine Madness, the YouTube book club channel. What an amazing and beautiful day it is. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, it's the afternoon, I feel great. I've had an amazing morning and I have learned to be grateful. I start my morning with prayer. I start my morning with giving thanks for salvation. And recently I've incorporated in my morning to just say thank you, to find a minimum of 3 things and sometimes 5 that I'm grateful for. Not given any circumstance to prevailing events, am I grateful for it? And that has really changed my perception and my outlook for the day. Things that I'm grateful for that may in other circumstances would annoy me, because I'm grateful for it, I give that situation, that circumstance, that event, that personality over, and it just lodges and shifts something different in my soul. And so when I encounter it, I have already wakened my mind up to align with my heart and my spirit that I'm grateful for it. So my interactions in those events, circumstances, and with those personalities, they change. I've been doing this consistently for 2 weeks now, and it really, sunshine and overcast, it has really changed the thought processes of my mind and the interactions that I hold and how I engage. So I share that with you. That was strictly off the cuff, but it's just I'm grateful, and so I'm grateful for this YouTube channel. I'm grateful for everyone who even takes the time to tune in, because I started it in late February, early March. And for the number of subscribers that I have, I'm grateful, because those are people who honestly just take their time and find that there is enough value in this channel that they just want an alert. Now, whether they view it, whether they have time to view it, at least they find value enough in it that they subscribe to it and an alert comes on their phone. And otherwise that wouldn't have happened, and not everyone needs to do it. And I'm grateful for those who have chosen to do it. I'm seriously grateful for that. So for those of you who have subscribed, or whether you're just tuning into view, thank you. I appreciate it, and I am grateful that you have taken up these 15 minutes of your day to tune into my presentation. Divine Madness, the YouTube book club channel. This is my walkthrough of my realistic fiction. It was a book that truly was pulled out of me by the Spirit of the Lord. I've always been a storyteller. I've always enjoyed telling stories, and always enjoyed doodling, penning, whether it's attempting to write poems or short stories. I've always enjoyed holding a pen in my hand and creating a storyline, or using my imagination from pen to paper. And I say that this story was pulled out of me by the hand of the Lord, because I was walking around with a story in my belly, and I was only telling myself the story, and it was only in my head, and I told myself this story. It was on a continuous loop. Like, I had characters and chapters and people and events and everything, but I only told myself this story as I cleaned the house. And one day at my church, where I'm now a member at True Worship Kingdom Ministries, hello Apostle Deborah, beautiful woman, strong woman, visionary woman, but in this case she had a guest speaker, and the guest speaker had the anointing and the mantle of a prophet. And the woman with the mantle and the gift of a prophet called me up, and in short, what she said to me was, God said to write the book. And she anointed my fingers, and I stood amongst the congregation stunned. Shortly thereafter, a friend of mine was determined that she was going to come over and bring me a book, a gift, for my birthday, which was about 2 weeks after I received the prophecy, about a week and a half or 2 weeks. And in short, it was a blank journal. And in the blank journal, she inscribed that the Lord said something about me not needing lines, because I'm also creative, but I state when I write, I must stay on the line. And writing on the lines doesn't hinders my imagination. And I realized that because once I put the pen to the paper, freestyle, I go all around the corners, all around the edges. I insert stories in the center, so it's almost like a kaleidoscope how I use these pages, because the story isn't set until I frame the story on that page. Sometimes even turning the page disrupts my imagination. And so I'm very careful to take from my imagination and stay on that page while I have this vivid imagery alive, this depiction on this page. So it's like a kaleidoscope. It comes off from all different angles, and no one would ever be able to do a transcription from my freestyle writing, because they need me. It is a myriad of color schemes, people, a tapestry of events, let's say it that way. So, you know, when I yell at you, I'm not yelling, I'm exhorting. What are you doing with your gift? What are you doing with your gift? This is just another snippet of how I found my gift and how I use my gift. But it took years for me to accept the gift, which also is my segue into Divine Madness. And through previous segments, you have heard me several times refer to myself as being stupid. So stupid. Oh, I just have to pause and maybe I'm not the only one. Have you ever been or said something or done something where you just really knew that you were stupid? I mean, it was just obviously not the right decision. And people told you, and you ignored them for whatever your beliefs were, whatever your reasons were. And even though they were telling you, you knew something wasn't quite right, that quite possibly, and maybe 5% more than you thinking you're right, you knew that they were right, which was in opposition to the decision that you were choosing to make. That's when you're stupid. And that's exactly what I did. I met my ex-husband, and why I say now that I was stupid is I met my ex-husband, and ladies, I want you to hear me today. I'm asking for you to hear me. Don't ever settle for a man who is not a complement to your vision, a complement to your beliefs. I met the man who is now my ex-husband, and because I enjoy writing and penning, I remember specifically one time I shared a story with him. It was a booklet of stories that I had compiled. I had gone ahead and typed them. All he had to do was read them. They were not the tapestry of my imagination, the rough draft of my imagination. They were typed and formed, you know, with titles and everything. And I handed him my booklet and said, this is something that I love to do. I love to write, and I'd like to share this with you. And it was sharing those stories at the time was something very personal to me, and it still is, because you know, when you write or when you author or you pen, it comes out of your soul. It's something completely contrived from imagination that is purely genuine. It's no one else can create that, recreate that imagination that you have. And so I find it very personal and intimidated, because I wasn't confident in it, even though I very much loved it. I wasn't very strong in the beliefs that this was a gift for me. And this was at the beginning of our relationship. Anyway, I handed it to him, wanting to share a part of myself with this man. And he looked at it and he threw it on the floor and he said, I'm not ready for that right now. I don't want to do that right now. And he didn't throw it on the floor aggressively, but he just dropped it on the floor. as, I don't want to read that right now, and I'm not interested. And I looked at that on the floor, and I looked at him. I don't remember what I said. I was stunned and in disbelief. Kindly, I would suggest that I said, is that it? You have no interest in it? I wasn't, we hadn't progressed into the more tumultuous part of our relationship where I acted aggressively. So this is more at the beginning where I'm a little more reserved and calm, a little more docile and demure, and just stunned and hurt. And he was like, no, but I'll get to it. I'll get to it. He never did. I put it back in the box where I had it and never revisited, never offered offered him an invitation to read anything that I ever created. Nothing. But I went on with the relationship after much more ado, far worse than that compromised my beliefs, compromised my integrity, compromised my personal value, compromised my esteem. And all along the way, people told me, he's not for you, Shelly. And my aunt, who was very open, very candid, very raw, life of the party, she dared to tell me, he's not good enough for you. She went ahead and cut through all the BS and said, he's not good enough for you. And it stunned me. And even up to my marriage, it was the worst decision that I made to my marriage day. So what is stupid? And I can comfortably say that I was stupid because I'm going to give you a scriptural context of what stupid is. And it's Proverbs 12:1. Whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. And there are other scriptures that align to that, but I just would not heed to the correction, would not heed to the visions and the statements of knowledge and love that he was not good for me. He was not the man for me. My aunt, she had a dear love for me, so she went ahead and said that he was not good enough for me. And so maybe people would, counter that and call it judgment, but her perception of what she valued me to be and what she saw that he was. And my aunt was raised, she wasn't raised in the streets, but she was street smart. So she cut through she cut the cards, and she went ahead and called it. And but I married him, and the family, they were always gracious to him and always willing to make him a part of the family. And nobody shunned him or treated him like that, because it was the choice that I made. And because I made the choice to bring him into the family, they treated him like family. So they didn't discard him or treat him nasty because of the decision that I made. But I was stupid because I would not heed to correction. And so, ladies, I am asking you today to ask yourself, are you doing something stupid? Are you in a relationship that's compromising your values, compromising your integrity, compromising your beliefs, and compromising them to the point where you don't feel good about yourself? It does not align with who you see yourself to be or even hope to be. And I dare suggest that you go ahead and cut it. Just pull yourself away from it, because how he is without the marriage covenant is how he's going to be with a marriage covenant. The covenant, and even if you get married in a church or a devout pastor marries you, it won't change who he is. Only God does that by his will, by the man's will. So just think about, are you stupid? Are you doing something stupid? Are you acting stupidly? Are you heeding to correction? And if it's okay for you to say it, I say it. I'm not saying it to offend you. I'm still hurt by it. And the best that I can pull from my stupidity is that I have these two sons. Because remember, God works all things together for the good for those who are loved and who are called to his purpose. And I was called to a purpose of God. And if you believe that you are too, think about it. But out of that marriage and out of all things that I have done, I have two sons, and they are trying, and they are examples of generational curses as well, but they are talented and they have good hearts, and they at least honestly know the Lord for themselves. The rest, as they grow into adulthood and manhood, these are things that the Lord will now have to sharpen, prune, and carve, which I very much pray that he does. So people ask me, why did you marry him? Why did I marry this man? Because I had a promiscuous life, and I was tired of laying myself down and getting up empty. So I demanded that something was going to be different, and something was different. And like I said, the best that came out of it were my two sons and my development, because now I have this testimony and I have these giftings, because I never talked about my spiritual giftings, but as a result, I have an elevation of spiritual giftings, and I have an elevation and a confidence of my natural giftings. So things do work together for the good. And even if you admit that you're stupid, please don't stay there. I say that I'm stupid and I'm laughing, but I'm still hurt because of the choices that I made. I'm laughing because I can see it in retrospect. And I know that the Lord has delivered me, which leads me to the next question. What would you do differently if a man came in your life now? Well, what I would do differently is, now I look for a man. Now, I don't look for a man. Now, if a man were to come into my life, I would examine his vulnerability to the Lord and his willingness to pray. Not because I want him to, just how does he gear his lifestyle and his vulnerability to the Lord and his willingness to pray. And to me, that's key. That's what I would do differently. And after all of these experiences, that's what this has brought me to. So we have read from Divine Madness. We are up to pages 243. I still do not like the death section. And I still cringe when I read it. And I'm like, don't do it. But I know she does it because I did it. And it's me. Arrgh! So we will go on to, from here we will go on to 243 to 260. That's where we'll pick up segment after next. Our next segment, I will be exhorting to you, begging you, pleading with you, screaming, what are you doing with your gift? What are you going to do with your gift? Do it. I'll see you next time. And thank you so much. I appreciate you. Get to it.